It was around 4th century when the Roman Empire invented a religion as a strategy to unify the vast and diverse territory in one and powerful empire. The powerful families that governed Rome sought to rebuild it under the only common ground they had left in almost all the territories of his old government. That link was religion. So with the emperor become pope and with politics mixed in religion, Rome had more choice than to fabricate mechanisms of defense of his emperor. To be unedifying the image of a religion with armies opted for disguise their military forces with cassocks and charities and came up the night orders that promised eternal oath to the Father, that is to say emperor. In the year 1099 Godofredo conquered Jerusalem with the Crusades, creating a little later what is known like the Order of Zion, and later it was keyed in other foundations like the Order of the Temple, the Holy Sepulchre and the Order of the Hospitallers. The latter order starting from a small existing congregation that was called the Order of Saint Benedict, dedicated to care of sick pilgrims. The order was reconverted becoming religious hospital and at the same time military since its members passed to also take arms against the Arabs. So the military order of San Juan was born of Jerusalem, also called the hospitable, that in addition to the military were spies and confidants. Well placed in that area of the Medium East, its task to fight the infidels, not flee in combat and never get up in weapons against a Christian empire. In the year 1120, the Pope Urbano II officially recognizes this order as religious and military, being during centuries one of the most military forces powerful of all Christendom. In 1291, after the fall of the Kingdom Christian of Jerusalem, this military order of San Juan set for a short time on the island from Cyprus. Shortly after, in the year 1307, they moved to the island of Rhodes, passing then to be called Gentlemen of Rhodes. In the year 1312, when the most powerful Knights Order by then, the Templars founded in Jerusalem in the year 1118 by 9 French knights, and that after its dissolution a part of their assets were delivered to the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, or Knights Hospitable. With the passage of time the order was reinforced with a very powerful force naval in the Mediterranean to defend his mercantile interests, and others becoming in a short time a naval power in construction of the best of the better galleys, like for example the one that they did in the year 1592 when they built the first battleship of the history. They called it the Santa Anna, made of lead and whose 3,000 tons that were unsinkable because they were based on the ship at the beginning of Archimedes. The order also built the first hospital history ship in the year 1522 after losing roles by the Ottoman invasion, the King of Spain and Germany Carlos V. He donates them shortly after the island of Malta, which comes from its current name of Order of the Knights of Malta. In this same 16th century, an emperor of the family of the Habsburgs recognizes the Order of the Knights of Malta as a sovereign state. In the year 1613, there is an important year that was the definitive rupture of the greatest power, economic and influence of that epoch, and that arose from the marriage between the Venetian nobility and the papacy, more known as black nobility. Said rupture leaves the Knights of Malta positioned towards the Vatican side, towards the Vatican faction. It was like this until the year 1798 when Napoleon, a Jesuit under the control of the faction British of the black nobility, occupies the island of Malta and pushes them to move temporarily to Messina, Catania and Ferrara. to finally establish its headquarters in Rome in the year 1834, when already the British faction of the black nobility had reconquered the Vatican through the Jesuits. The Malta Knights, who was recognized as a sovereign state by a Habsburg emperor, they are still a sovereign state. Organized from its headquarters in Via Condotti 68 in Rome, where its walls are your borders. They keep their own aircraft fleet. They have diplomatic relations with almost 100 nations, also with the nations united with the Holy See, and enjoy full immunity diplomat. This order is totally Catholic, though there are also members who are not. And their highest rank must show that they have an aristocratic lineage and that they have their own coat of arms, at least of 3 centuries of history. The Grand Master of the Order is in turn a secular prince and a cardinal of the Church. As a reflection of its history, the composition is still largely composed of people with a deep background from military or intelligence. And this is a very important detail to keep in mind. The shield of the Malta Order is formed by 4 arrowheads pointing to the center, and that converted Malta cross into a cross of meditation, the cross of the 8 qualities or of the Beatitude. The Templars used it as a key for the construction and deciphering of a secret alphabet, and it would also serve as a base symbol for the layout octagonal of the Templar chapels that they spread throughout Europe. The habits and clothes of the order. From the Hospital of San Juan to Jerusalem, the beginning they were black with a cross white 8 tips that represents the 8 Beatitudes. From the year 1259 the Knights changed the color for the war for another color, red with a white cross. Pope Pius XII ordered an investigation to the Order of the Knights of Malta in the decade of the 50s of the century past. The Papal Commission accused, among other things, to the order that they should not have the sovereignty of a state and ordered to modify your statutes to put it in conformity with the decisions of the Holy Headquarters, but Pope Pius XII died before those arrangements could be done. Integrate this Order of the Knights of Malta natural and legal persons who they are divided into 3 classes of members. First class is composed by religious devotees with obedience gifts, chastity and poverty, who are religious for all purposes of the canon law, but they are not bound to life in common, is composed of the Knights of Justice, between whom they choose the Grand Master, and for the conventual chaplains. The second class, whose members have sworn to follow the perfection of life Christian according to the duties of the own state according to the spirit of the order, it is composed of knights and bridesmaids, in devotion and obedience of grace and masterly. The third class of members does not issue religious vows and promises, is composed of knights and ladies of honor and devotion, the chaplains conventuals of honor, the chaplains magistrals, and the gentlemen and ladies of masterly grace, and those donated from devotion. The Knights of Malta are governed by a backbone based on the nobility. Almost half of the 12,500 members belong to the most ancient and powerful families of Europe. This consolidates the alliance of the black nobility that does not see it an alliance, but this faction of the black nobility already took the Vatican does some centuries. This Venetian nobility or black nobility, it is mainly made up of the most rich and powerful Europe. belonging to the Knights of Malta, it implies obedience both to the superior of the order as in last instance self-styled militias. In addition to the 12.500 members, have more than 60,000 members who enjoy full immunity diplomat. The most powerful knights that they control the inner court are the Order of the Jartas, controlled by the Pilgrim Society. All the Knights of Malta, like we said, have total immunity diplomat. This order keeps its right to the sovereignty under the law international and has obtained the statute of permanent observer in the United Nations. They issue their own passports, your own stamps. The Malt Order maintains relations diplomatic with 100 countries, and its sovereignty as a state is recognized by 105 countries. They have total impunity to send goods across borders without paying fees and without being any kind of control customs. That is, they have full capacity to move around the world with whatever they want and how they want without having to give explanation to nobody. This is the first episode. What is a bit the brief history about the Order of the Knights of Malta.